The Dallas Stars are back in the Western Conference Final, and Ryan Chambers of StarcasticRemarks is joining me today to talk about the Stars' triumph over the Jets. We'll give some scale ratings as well, star scale ratings, and talk about this rematch with the Edmonton Oilers next.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And it's now time to introduce our wonderful guest, Ryan Chambers of StarcasticRemarks. Ryan, how are you doing, good sir? It's good to catch up with you for the first time during this Stanley Cup playoff run for the Dallas Stars.
I'm doing good, man. I'm loving the run. Everything looks good. And what's crazy is that there are key players who haven't really jumped into the lineup, offensively yet. So I don't feel like the Stars are playing their best, and yet they're still able to finish off their competition in 6 or 7. So we're looking forward to this next series against Edmonton, and we'll have to see how they do.
Well, that's a great hint for our second segment. I'm going to throw some players at Ryan, and I want to hear his Yelp reviews on some of these Dallas Stars players. And he mentioned some of the guys that haven't kicked in offensively, so we'll see what kind of grades he gives Matt Duchene, maybe some others here a bit later on. But the Stars have had a lot of entertaining games already this postseason. It's been a bit topsy-turvy. It's been a roller coaster, to say the least. They've been shut out 3 times, but they've won both series now. What'd you make of the series against Winnipeg, and should it have been a penalty shot? And are you happy it wasn't called a penalty shot?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are asking me too. This is like, should that have been a penalty shot? Yes, it probably should have been. But am I glad that it wasn't? Yes, obviously I am, because that's kind of what ended the series for the Stars. I don't even remember what was your first question.
Just your overall thoughts on the Jets series. What'd you think? What'd you think of the Stars in this one?
Honestly, I really liked the way that they played. I did. My only qualm with them more than anything is that they didn't finish it a little earlier. And okay. I know that's a lot to say and a lot to push and to think high and mighty of your own team and everything like that. Well, hello, Stars podcast, hello. But I think it's now been 22 of the last 23 playoff series. The Stars have gone to 6 or 7 games in their playoff series. And that's... And again, maybe none of this will matter, and the Stars will be hosting a silver trophy at the end of this playoff run. But it's really hard to win the Stanley Cup and continually play 6 and 7 games in a series. And it would have been nice for the Stars to finish off this team in 5. And again, this is not because I think high and mighty of my team. Yes, it's part of it. And it's also not the fact that I think that the Jets were a terrible team, because they're obviously not. They pushed back hard. It's just that if you want to make a deep run and you want to have the energy and give yourself enough rest for the next round or whatever, it would have been nice for the Stars to have been able to take care of business in 5. Now that being said, and I'll keep going back to this. I'll die on this hill. I know and I understand that Mikko Rantanen is going to get all of the praise right now because he absolutely deserves it. He's been a superstar for this team. He has come up in big moments when the Stars have really needed him, which is something the Stars haven't had in the last several years, which is why they got him. But if you're being completely honest, the player of this postseason right now is Jake Oettinger. And that's not to pull a Razor Ray or anything like that and just only recognize the goalie. But look at what he's done. When you look at all of the stats, whether it's the traditional stats or the advanced analytics or goals saved above expected per 60 or whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever stat you look at, Jake Oettinger is elite in almost every single one of those categories. He's posting a 920 plus or around their save percentage in the postseason. That is very hard to do. His goals against average, despite him being pulled in a game, it wasn't because he was bad. It was because the team in front of him was bad. It was a mercy pull, and Pete DeBoer recognized that there was no chance they were going to win that particular game. And then what's even more important than anything is that when, just like Mikko Rantanen, when the Stars have really needed him to make that save or multiples of that saves, he has done it. And none more critical than that Mason Appleton tic-tac-toe play with like 5 minutes to go in the third period in Game 6 last night. Like it, and you could say that, oh, well, it was going wide or something like that. You don't necessarily know that. He was still there.
Could have banked in off of him, knowing Dallas.
That's how the playoffs have gone, man.
Yeah.
Like there have been some funky goals, but that's the hill I'm going to die on. And the fact that Conn Smythe, possible pick for the Stars moving forward, he deserves it. He absolutely 100% deserves it. And Mikko Rantanen has been quiet the last couple of games. And I say quiet, he's been ridiculous still, even when he doesn't come up with a point. But Jay Gottinger is the guy that is continually affecting games, affecting series. And even more importantly, he is better when the series are deeper. And that it goes to show why he's probably going to be Team USA's starting goalie.
Yeah, the Stars are strong from the net on out, and you alluded to some of the numbers. He's faced the most shots in the postseason, 394, has the most saves, 362, 919 save percentage, 2.47 goals against for Otter so far.
That's ridiculous.
And he was lights out in this series, and he played better than the best goalie in the world the last 2 years. Hellebuck's been incredible. Looked just kind of awkward the first handful of games of the series, and he was better as it went along. He played his best game in Game 6. That was also why I was really satisfied with the way the Stars did it. Thought both teams finally were sort of playing their best, and they were throwing their best punches, and Dallas went out and won the game in a fast, physical fashion. You touched on some of the depth pieces, maybe not pitching in offensively enough. How concerned are you about that moving forward? Because you did mention the timely saves, and that's something I think has been different this season for Dallas, where they're maybe not dominating the other team. I think you can make a case if you're a Jets or Avalanche fan that we felt like maybe out of the whole series, we may have outplayed you guys, maybe not Winnipeg, so to speak, and we lost. But that's why I think they're almost different, where Dallas just seems to score those timely goals, and they're getting those timely saves, especially on the power play, some of their goals, or maybe in years past they haven't. But how concerned are you in particular about some of those Duchene Robos of the world not scoring here?
I would be lying if I said I wasn't concerned, because at some point somebody else has got to step up, and like guys have stepped up, and the depth has shown up a little bit. I mean, we got a goal from Sam Steele last night, and it wasn't just a goal from a fourth line. Like that was a shooter's goal. Like that was a ridiculous shot. But it's still I don't want to say it's frustrating, but it is very concerning that. And I give Robo a little bit of a pass, because
I do too.
I mean, like he gets thrown into the second round, right, in the playoffs, and everyone else has had some time to rest up, and he hasn't really had that opportunity. But like Duchene, man, like come on, and Sagan, and I'll throw Ben in there too, even though a lot of people have talked about him being more of a fourth line guy. He's your captain, like, and this is it. That this might be it for him in terms of a chance to go after the cup. And just other guys that haven't quite 100% been there. I mean, Granlund has shown up in time. Mikko Rantanen obviously has. Hintz has shown up. Harley obviously finishes off the series last night. But the other crazy thing, and I'll throw Edmonton here a little bit too, to not get there yet, but kind of looking forward to that segment too, is the fact that Edmonton doesn't look like they have a whole lot of depth when you look at the names, and then obviously you look at the top. But when you look at the score sheet, they have some very balanced depth in terms of goal scoring. I mean, Connor Brown has been very good for them again this year in the postseason. Janmark, who never scored for Dallas, but he's scoring for he's scoring for them. I mean, Corey Perry had a couple of games for
Andrew Kane's been great.
Yeah, and Kane has just come out of nowhere, been dropped in the playoffs, and he's scored some goals. Corey Perry had a 2-goal game earlier in the playoffs, and that's something that the Stars have not had. And they've been able to do without, which is great because they've had extremely good goaltending and very good defensive depth up and down the lineup in terms from the forwards and the decor. But I'm not sure if they can do this moving forward and, be able to rely just upon the big guys to take care of business offensively and then, kind of hamper it out and win these games 2-1, 3-2, 1-0, stuff like that. Maybe they can and they can prove me wrong, but it would be so much easier and so much nicer if we could see guys like Duchene, like Sagan, those kind of guys kind of step up a little bit more.
Yeah, and one thing that is completely different than it has been the past few seasons, and this sort of goes back to your point about trying to finish off Winnipeg earlier in Game 5 is, well, Miro hasn't logged 30 minutes a night in the first 2 rounds of those series. That is a good thing, where he's actually going to be fresh in the Western Conference Final, and he looked incredible the other night. I was all right, I see it, pal. This is the Miro we've all grown and loved. So that I think that is a positive thing for Dallas. And then they don't have to ride Harley as much. So for the first time, you're not, okay, we didn't have to roll 5 defensemen for 16 games or whatever it could be, or 14 games just to get to the Western, just to get to that point. Now they're a bit fresh. So we'll see how they come out against Edmonton. Well, I'm going to throw some names here at Ryan in the next segment. We're going to do some star scale ratings. I'll probably throw out Duchene and some others. Want to hear his thoughts on some of these individual playoff runs for the Stars. We'll do that in just a moment. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all your money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money, you start building wealth. When you get Monarch, you'll realize sometimes you're spending so much on food delivery or entertainment, and it allows you to budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals with others. You can track and have shared personal accounts. You can set goals, stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for 50% off your first year. I want to thank all the Stars fans out there that are joining me and Ryan today and have been joining our respective shows throughout the postseason. We really, really appreciate it. Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And we appreciate all the love and support. Stars fans really come together this time of year. I'm sure Ryan and his brothers are feeling it over there. So we really appreciate you joining us today. And we're going to have a bit of a game here. We don't do this all the time, but I want to do something fun. I want to get Ryan's scale. He's going to give us like a Yelp review, like Google review, 5-star, 4-star, and some of these individual performances. We're not going to go through everybody. We don't have time for that. We'll do that in the off season. I'll ask Ryan I'll ask his grade for everybody, but we'll start out with Duchene since we've touched on him enough already. This is the overall playoff performance, not just the series against Winnipeg. Are you disappointed in Matt Duchene, and give me your 1 to 5 star rating for Dutchie?
See, he is so hard.
They did look good the other night, which was nice.
Exactly. Like they have, like his line whenever he's had, if it's been Marchman or if it's been Ben on his other side.
Yeah.
They have had games where they've looked good, but they haven't. And the thing that matters is execution. So, do I be mean?
Yeah, you can be.
Okay, I'll be harsh. 2 stars. 2 stars.
I think it's fair.
Just because like they look good at points. And Matt Duchene particularly looks good at points, but he's just not executing.
Yeah.
And at this time of the year, it doesn't matter about how good you look. It matters about execution. And that's maybe a little harsh on my part, but he's our second line center. We need more from him. So he's got to be there.
I'm going to do his line mate next, and someone that's been really disappointing me because I love his game, and I think he should have been way more effective against Winnipeg. Mason Marchment.
I'll give him the same review. I'm 2 stars because again, it's the same sort of thing. And the other thing is that he's. I honestly thought that he was going to get suspended. I really truly believed it when he tapped the ref on the shin. I was just like, oh my goodness, Mason, what are you doing? You're going to get yourself in trouble. And he was given a gift from the hockey gods for not, getting in trouble with that. But again, it's a lot of the same stuff. Like there are games and points and shifts where he looks really good. And when he's not, contributing offensively, he's going after the bodies and he's hitting like he should. And that's great and fine and dandy and everything. But when we don't score goals, which has happened 3 times in the playoffs right now, and again, it hasn't really affected us. We're now in the conference final, but we need more. We need more from players like that at this time of the year. And he's in your top 9 for a reason. So 2 stars.
Yeah, I thought his game 6 was probably his best game, which is hopefully a good sign, and he can carry some of that over into this conference final because yes, they will need it. Alrighty. I'm curious your thoughts on Wyatt Johnston. Where'd you get him?
Wyatt Johnston gets a 4-star for me right now. He has been sometimes invisible, but what puts him above both Duchene and Mason Marchment in particular is he has scored some very clutch goals at some very opportune times. And whether didn't matter if it's been 5-on-5 or in the on the power play, like I'm specifically thinking of the Mikko Rantanen hat trick game 7 against the Colorado. Like a lot of people forget that he actually had the game winning goal. And I think he was one of very few guys at his age who have had game-winning goals and put series away, and that list he's on is very exclusive at the age of 22. And so he gets 4-star for me. I think he could give us a little bit more. There's something else there. Like it feels like there's something else there. We continually talk about it all the time that he is the next captain of this organization. When Jamie Benn hangs up the skates, he's the next captain. He could really cement his legacy and 100% fulfill that captaincy role that he will partake of one day if he can have a huge moment in the next 2 rounds.
Yeah. Also, it probably doesn't get talked about enough, but it's not like he's getting paired with really effective players either. He's been paired a lot with Robo. And I know they've tried to throw Mikko on the one side a bit here of late just to give Mikko some more minutes, just to maybe spark something. But, and he's played with Dodonov Ben a bit. Like he hasn't played with the most of it, and he's still finding a way to get it done. And maybe if he played with, Rope or somebody a bit more. Well, I know they want to keep him at center, but yes, exactly. Because he is invisible sometimes, but maybe that's because he is having to play a bit more of a 200-foot game, help out a bit more. And he has to, frankly, a lot of his goals are either have been on the power play or it's just based off what he does because he's talented. And if he creates some chances himself. Okay, I'll give you one more forward. Then we'll move to some defensemen. I'm also not trying to pick some obvious ones. I think Mikko would get a 5-star unless Ryan wants to get some clickbait going.
1 star.
Trying to pick somebody rather interesting. Okay. I mean, we haven't seen him in a bit, but I'm just Colin Blackwell because I've loved his game. What would you give Colin Blackwell?
He gets a 5-star review. Yeah. I know that may seem unfair when I'm talking about all these other players. Oh, this guy gets 2 and these guys get 4. And Colin Blackwell has a lesser role. Well, yeah, he plays a lesser role, but
he's got more goals than Duchene.
Yeah, I mean, he's got more goals than Duchene. He has game 2 alone against the Avs. He gets a 5-star review just for that goal alone, because you don't expect that from a guy like that. And he came in, and people forget that he was scratched for game one. He was not in the lineup for game one.
Correct,
he comes in and he scores the game winning goal. And honestly, I felt really bad at that point because, again, that was the stretch where the Stars lost 8 games in a row going back to the regular season. So he kind of, re-triggered all of those good emotions for the Stars and maybe got them on the right track. So that's my personal opinion. 5-star for Colin Blackwell.
Yeah, he just injects life. And he's come in a few times after Dallas like he had that when they had the egg in game 4, I think it was, and then he gets inserted back in the lineup. And they start him, and he's just flying around, and Dallas needs some of that. And I think if Dallas goes back to 12-6, he'll probably be inserted into that. I'm curious. Okay, we got to move on to some defensemen, and then we can talk about this Edmonton rematch. Let's do Cody Ceci. What have you thought about Ceci?
See, the thing with Ceci, it's really interesting because, like, when you watch a Stars game, you don't really notice him that much, right? But that's not necessarily a bad thing. So what you kind of have to do, and what a lot of people should do, is you go and look at his time on ice. And his time on ice has been incredibly impressive. I mean, there have been games where he's had, 20 plus minutes, and he averages about that ever since Miro went down. He has basically and effectively been a number 4 guy. And even though now Miro is back in the lineup and Miro is mostly playing with Harley, you don't see, Lyubushkin being slotted into that 4th line or that number 4 D pairing role with Essa. It's been Cody Ceci. And Lyubushkin's ice time has dramatically dropped, like, from what he was doing. He was doing 18, 19 minutes a night for Lyubushkin. Now he's down to 11 or 12 the last 3 games now when they've gone 11-7. So it's been impressive, mostly just because of how invisible he's made himself, because it means he's making the right plays at the right times. He's not turning the puck over. He's making the smart defensive plays. And I mean, would you want something offensively from him? I mean, maybe, but but with the Stars' depth on the offensive side, and with Miro and with Harley, you don't really need that from a guy like Cody Ceci. You just need somebody who's going to be a staunch defensive defenseman, which is what he's being right now. And the fact that his ice time is not really going down and they're playing 11-7, perfect. I mean, he gets a 5-star review in my opinion because he's playing way above where he should, and he's exceeding expectations, and the coaches seem to trust him with all of the time on ice he's getting. So.
5 stars, baby. You hear that, Stars fans? Cody Ceci, man. Hey, he was good for Edmonton last year. I thought he was pretty decent, all things told. Okay, we'll end with this. The 20-year-old Lian Bichsel. How about the big Swiss man out there? What have you liked about him?
With Miro coming back in, his role has kind of diminished a little bit. But before that, he was fantastic. And when we started the playoff series, and it was like, he's playing with Petrovic. They're throwing Petrovic in there, and that's unexpected. We thought it was going to be Dumba, and even though Dumba had not, really done all that well, and so the way he's played this playoff series shows that he belongs in the NHL. And the way that he plays is absolutely perfect for specifically postseason hockey. There's a little bit more to be desired in terms of maybe ice time for him, I think, but that's not really on him. That's just on the coaching staff and how they're utilizing him. But the role he's doing right now, he's playing exactly what you want. There's not been a whole lot of issues that I've seen where he's again, just like Ceci, he not turning the puck over. He's not making stupid plays. He's not really taking dumb penalties or anything like that. He's just being a very staunch defensive defenseman. And there have been times when we've even seen him, unlike Cody Ceci, jump up into the rush sometimes.
Yeah.
So he's showing that he's got that ability every once in a while to do so. And obviously the physical side that he brings is something that none of the Stars really have right now. And that's why he's still in the lineup, honestly, is because he's got that physical edge that nobody else really has. Maybe Petrovic has it a little bit, but nobody in the forward and the forward group right now is really doing any of that. as much as you want them to. So I think he gets a 5-star from me as well, just for the role he's playing.
Yeah, he hasn't really had any rookie mistakes either, which is nice. Like we saw some of that in the regular season where he maybe over committed, anticipated something, and he's just been solid. Him and Petrovic, man, they've just been solid. And that's all you can ask out of a 5 and 6th defenseman. Alrighty, let's get into this Western Conference final preview rematch with the Edmonton Oilers. I have something off the top I want to ask you because I was a bit shocked when I saw this. So I'm going to ask you and see if you recall this. There'll be some interesting trivia here from last year's Western Conference final. We'll do that in just a moment. Alrighty, I pulled some numbers from the 2024 Western Conference final between the Stars and Oilers. Of course, Dallas falls short, but I saw this and it really shocked me. So I'm curious how good your memory is. Who led the Stars in scoring in that series against Edmonton last year?
Oh man. Wow. That did no answer. I have nothing.
It was none other than your captain, Jamie Benn. He had 7 points. He had 7 points in that series.
Wow.
And it brought up my thoughts too, because I think I said it quite a bit after. Like Seguin and Benn had good series. That's nice, but it's not great that Seguin and Benn were still your sort of your leading scorers. So I thought that was incredible. It stumped me too. 1 goal, 6 assists for Jamie Benn, and he had 7 points in the 6th game. Johnston and Seguin had 5. So it was rather interesting. And of course, Robo had the hat trick. Well, those were his 3 goals in the entire series. He only had 4 points. So pretty much one game, he kind of, and he may have had a 4-point game in that one. I may be mistaken on that, but anyways, I thought that was a bit shocking. So it would be nice if Jamie Benn had 7 points upcoming in this series. So also just some numbers I wanted to throw out there that I pulled. Power play was really bad, Ryan. Do you recall how really atrocious it was? Do you know the exact number? Is that something etched into your brain?
I think it was like 11%, something like that.
They went 0 for 14.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so it was even worse than I remember.
Wasn't very good. They went 7 and 11 on the PK. So they gave it 4 power play goals, which I mean isn't great, but it still is Edmonton. They were the best power play team all year long during that season. Some 5-on-5 goals. So Stars had 14. Stars gave up 13. So they outscored them at 5-on-5. And I can't recall if there's any 6-on-5 goals. This is just me, but I think that was correct. So Stars actually had scored them 5-on-5, but it was the power play that really did them in. But yeah, it was really poor. Anyways, this all leads me to this point. Edmonton feels like they're better. Dallas feels like they're better too. By how much? I don't know, but it is nice you got Mikko Rantanen now. I get what is your biggest concern with this matchup for Dallas against the Oilers heading into this year? Because last year I felt so uber confident the Stars were going to beat Edmonton, and I think the Oilers humbled Stars fans, including myself. This year, this go around, are you even more nervous? Do you feel confident? I guess. And what are some of your concerns with this matchup?
I'm actually more confident now than I was last year, to be completely honest with you. And the difference is that the things that were issues for the Stars last year are not issues this year, right? So something that me, Chris, and James had been talking about for years now is who is that superstar player? Who is that guy that is going to take that next step? And Wyatt Johnston seemed to be, starting to evolve out of his egg and really starting to take that mantra a little bit. And then enter Mikko Rantanen. So now we have a bona fide superstar in his prime who has shown that he's a bona fide superstar in his prime. He's a Nathan McKinnon merchant.
Yes, exactly.
But and then the other thing that killed me last year was special teams and goaltending. I mean, I'll steal Razor's points every single time, and that special teams and goaltending were an issue. The Stars this postseason, they have scored a power play goal in every single game except one, I believe, if that's correct. Their penalty kill has not been an issue at all. If anything,
the
penalty kill has been
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say I think it's the second best penalty kill remaining. I think Carolina only has the best above them.
Yeah, and it's something ridiculous. Like it's in the high 80s or low 90s or something.
Oh yeah, it's
like
like
that.
93%.
Yeah, wow,
yeah.
that's fantastic. And then on the power play side, it won them the series last night, and the Stars have been able to take care of business on that mantra. And if they can keep 5-on-5 the same, which I would say it was an even battle last year, then I like our chances against Edmonton. The concern I have is, do they have enough gas in the tank to get there? And the other thing that we also need to talk about is, yes, I don't think Jake Ottinger is going to get worse. And I really don't. If anything, he's going to match the numbers that he's been showing or even get better. The problem for me is, which Stuart Skinner are we going to see? Or if Calvin Pickard is, I have no idea if he's healthy enough to come back in the playoffs or not. But if he does come back and they do throw him back in, what kind of Calvin Pickard are we going to get? And then the other thing that the Stars, one other thing that was concerning from the last couple of games here against the Jets, is they were not getting enough shots on net.
Yeah.
Right. There were numerous chances. It was fantastic, especially in Game 6, how Dallas was dominating the first and the third, but they were not giving themselves opportunities, and they were not making Hellebuck make the saves. They were missing. They were trying to pinpoint exact points, the four corners of the net, rather than just throwing it on net sometimes and looking for a rebound or a loose puck or something like that. So those are the only two concerns that I have going into this series.
Yeah, there's been games in some of these series, they've just looked really passive. And I don't know if something you guys have noticed, your brothers touched on it. It just they feel like a team that's a bit more counter punchish too. Besides like Game 6, they came out, they were on the attack, which was great to see. Like they were throwing everything at Winnipeg. But the Game 5 in Winnipeg was just like, they just seemed to kind of sat back and just be really passive. And we've seen that a handful of times, and it doesn't really feel like how they want to go about their business. I don't know if that's by design or maybe they're just on their heels and they're taking on water. I don't know. The great news is they've responded after each loss, and they've gotten big wins. But yeah, what Stuart Skinner is going to come up, because early in that series too, last year, Stuart Skinner wasn't great. And then I think from like Game 4 to game, like he was incredible.
Ridiculous,
like he was ridiculous. But I think in the same notion, doesn't really test him a whole lot either. And that's, they have to force the goalie to beat you. And
he can do his job.
Yeah, it feels similar to last year. Skinner was pulled and Pickard had to come in a few times. Like they didn't know who was going to be kind of their guy in the Western Conference final. And then eventually he locked it down the rest of the way. And there was a correction. I said 93%. They're 86% on the kills. So
it's still really good.
Yeah, Carolina and Florida are above them, but they have the best remaining power play at 30%. Montreal and LA was ahead of them, but yeah, 30%. They've been excellent. And yeah, some of those big goals for them too. And yeah, hopefully we don't have to see 0 for 14 again. Otherwise, I don't think it'll be good for the Dallas Stars. Any matchups in particular that intrigue you? Of course, well, I guess I'll frame it this way. If the Stars are to win this series, maybe outside of just the special teams goaltending factor, is there anything, if things go right, they are to win this series, what maybe gets them over the hump this year?
I'm going to toot this horn again. It's going to be the battle of the second and third lines. Okay. Like Robo, where he is, if they're going to stick with that, the finish line, then Robo's got to figure something out with Wyatt, and Wyatt has also got to do something extra rather than just on the power play. And then that second line is going to be so super key, because if they keep, for the most part, if they keep the two guys separate for Edmonton, Draisaitl and McDavid, they're going to have to find a way to contribute more offensively, because I think both of the top lines for both teams are going to be just fine. I think they're going to get their points. They're going to get their opportunities. It's going to be a battle of the middle six, really, is where the Stars need win that battle. And I guess you could say that's another area of concern that I would have, because as far as who has the edge, I would say that Edmonton has the edge, even though when you look at the names the Stars have, you would give Dallas the edge. But when you look at the stats that Edmonton has put up, you would give Edmonton the edge. So it's kind of deflating a little bit to look at that. And some people may look at that take that I just said and be like, oh, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, go look at the stats. It's not, you can't just look at the names on the roster. Sometimes you have to look at what they've done in the last 2 rounds. And that is a bit concerning. And then the other one that's really interesting and something that hasn't been talked about a lot with Edmonton is it looks like Mattias Ekholm might have the opportunity to get back into the series. So what kind of an impact is he going to have on the series? Just like Miro coming back from an injury is going to make an impact on the series. So that's another kind of point. Apples or oranges kind of, combo you could look at and be like, okay, well, which guy is going to be a little bit more effective? Because Bouchard's been in, Harley's been in, they're going to do what they do. Miro looked really good in game 6. He was doing more of the offensive stuff that we haven't seen even before he got hurt. We didn't really see him going into the offensive zone that much like before he got hurt. He wasn't doing that very much. And then the whole thing with Ekholm, he is so extremely key to that decor over there, because that is, out of the 3, that's part of their weakness over there a little bit. I would say their goaltending is more weak than their D, but you throw Mattias Ekholm in there and their defense looks even better than it already does now. So that's going to be another matchup that's going to be really interesting to see. It's not like it's like a who wins kind of thing, but who's more effective, the middle 6 forwards, and then who's more effective coming back from an injury, Miro or Mattias Ekholm. We don't even know when Ekholm's going to come back, but some have said he's going to be back in for game 1. Some say game 2. I don't know, but I think he will be back in this series.
Yeah, I know there's some belief that they sort of rushed him back, and then of course he has the setback, and we'll see. And you mentioned Miro, and what I've always loved about him too, man, because a lot of gripe about his offense during the regular season. He elevates his play during the playoffs. He's got 63 points in 88 career playoff games. Those are pretty good numbers for him offensively. And he's got 2 assists in his first handful of games back. So, he's fun to watch at full flight, and maybe he's there. Probably not perfect, but he's on his way. It's gonna be a fascinating series, of course. Ryan, any prediction? You got a prediction off the top of your head before we let you go? You got a feeling about this one? You feel confident? What are your thoughts?
I really hadn't gotten a chance to really think about this, but I feel confident that this team is going to beat the Edmonton Oilers in a 7-game series. I guess I'll say Stars in 6.
All righty, I like it.
So I was a little bit too excited about that Jet series. I said Stars in 5. I was close. I said so Stars 1 and 6, but I think they can finish off Edmonton in 5 games. If they get that, and again, it's if they can get those middle 6 guys clicking the way they should, and the top line continues to do what they're doing, and Ottinger continues to be the world beater that he's been this playoff season, then I mean, there's no reason why the Stars couldn't win this in 5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be really shocked if it only went 5 for either one of these teams. I think that would be really, really surprising, but you never know. Like, if you mentioned if everything goes right for Dallas, and Skinner is just awful, then I mean, there'll be an avenue there. I like Stars in 7. They just seem to close it out on home ice. I don't want to sit through a game 7 Western Conference final. Don't get me wrong. That doesn't feel good for my health, but. That just feels like I feel like if they do move on, they're going to finish it on home ice. So maybe game 5 is right. So if they find a way to get there, that'd be pretty remarkable. It'd be nice. We may get 2 weeks off before the Stanley Cup Finals if that happens, and they finish it off quickly. But Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today. I know it was a busy week. You got your final week of school upcoming too. So the summer's almost there, my good friend. Power through.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, I am a school teacher. That's
Yes.
like my main gig, like what I do for a job. So my last week of school, I'm really excited. And man, teacher tired is one thing. Like if you've never heard that phrase, teacher tired, it is it is true, and I'm already there. 1 week.
Yes, you got it. You got it. Well, be sure to show Ryan and his brother some love. Sarcastic remarks. You guys are doing episodes after every game, correct? At this point, so
Yep.
yeah, they're out there having a blast. They're so much fun to hang out with. So go show them the love. And be sure to follow both their channels moving forward. I'm sure we'll catch up maybe in the off season or during this series. Hopefully the Stars are moving on. We got more stuff to talk about, but me and Ron like to catch up every once in a while. So thank you once again, Stars fans. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. You have a great start to your week. Game 1 is on Wednesday. It's 7:00 normal start times. Thank you very much,
Thank
Hockey Gods.
goodness.
Yes. Ryan's going to get some good sleep here too for the final week, which is good. Stars fans, have a great start to your week, and we'll see you on the next episode. So long, Stars fans.